Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. These people need training. These people need some information at least. One of the groups that's basically popped up with that in mind and doing some really interesting things are the National African American Gun Association. We're joined by the president, Phillip Smith. Phillip, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, thanks for being here. Really excited to talk to you today.
You bet. Okay, well, I mean, you heard the intro. We've got all these new people and an awful lot of black people buying their first gun. I mean, and clearly, an awful lot of black people have had guns for years and, experience with guns and hunting and self-defense and all the rest of it. I guess the big open-ended question is, what is the National African American Gun Association and what do you guys do?
We really focus on really two issues. We take our folks, and most of them are newbies, to your point, your intro. 70% of our folks that are joining are what we call newbies, never shot a gun, first time even putting a gun in their hand. And we train them over safety, training, safety, back and forth, and we really just focus on that as the 90% of our focus. Secondly, we have them learn about their local and national gun laws. We think it's very, very important. If you have a gun at home, you need to know what your local laws are. Can you carry a gun in your car? Can you open carry versus concealed carry? If someone breaks in your house, do you have the right to defend yourself? All those good things. So those are the two areas we really, really focus on with our membership.
Well, the obvious comment was, well, that's no different from what you teach anybody else, is it?
When it comes to training, there is no real difference. Training is training. Fundamentals are fundamentals. Isosceles versus Weaver, all that good stuff is exactly the same.
Okay. Having said that, it would be sophomoric. It would be silly to pretend that there's no difference here. And I mean, we have I'm going to drive you right into it, the Philando Castile issue, if you will, of a black man with a concealed carry permit who gets stopped by a police officer. He's reaching to show him his permit. The policeman shoots him 7 times and kills him. Yeah. And now it's that whole deal. Okay, and look, I've done this for 20 years. Is what do you do during a traffic stop? And it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, but maybe it does. Where do you come in on that?
Well, if you look at the data, the conversations, what you see visually or what you feel in your gut, put all that together, and I'm 63, and everyone has a different experience. I want to say that first and foremost. But my experience has been that there is a slight difference in terms of how I am received when it comes to law enforcement. Not all the time, but some of the time. And I think for some of those cases, law enforcement might have, let me say this, we have a lot of law enforcement that's in our organization. We have over 2,000 policemen that are chapter presidents, they're regional directors. I mean, the whole 9 yards. So I want to make sure no one thinks I'm trying to beat up on the law enforcement officers, because they'll come and beat me up here myself because they know where I live. But having said that, there are some issues out there that we need to be honest with as a community, not to demonize anyone or not to lay blame, so to speak, on one side or the other. But we just need to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, with Philando Castile, he was a good guy, well liked by his folks around his neighborhood, well liked at his job. Good family guy, a father, all those things that you want to have somebody like that living next door to you. But he was shot and killed. And in our view, we can never let that happen again. So we need to have some honest discussions on how can we prevent that happening with anybody, regardless of their color, and moving forward. And we have those conversations.
And I've been doing that conversation for a long time of, in a traffic stop, what do you do? Okay. Don't do the things that you would normally do. Don't be reaching for your wallet, hands on the wheel, assume it's a felony stop. And the way I've explained it, honestly, Phillip, is, look, in a traffic stop, this is a dangerous situation, and I've had people say, oh, well, no. And yeah, actually it is. This is a dangerous situation. The officer does not know what he or she is dealing with. And anything you can do to help this situation, which is, officer, how would you like to proceed? I've got my hands up here.
We call it TenTwo. When a law enforcement officer comes up to you, we call it TenTwo. Your hands on the steering wheel with the number on the clock 10 and 2, and hold your hands still and say, "Hey, officer, how you doing? What do you want me to do?" And don't move until he or she instructs you what to do. And typically, what we find is that when the officer sees that you're compliant, there's a relaxing of the interaction, and they'll tell you, hey, very slowly reach for your glove compartment, get your stuff out of that, and hand it over to them. Typically, if you do that, there's no issues.
And if and move slowly and talk, and if there's something in the glove compartment you think's going to startle them, let them know before you open the glove compartment. That
absolutely.
Kind of thing.
If you have a firearm in your glove compartment, please let him or her know that, hey, officer, I've got a gun in the glove compartment. I don't feel comfortable doing that. What should I do? And don't move until he or she directs you.
Good. Yeah. So, all right. Question for you. Is there any difference in the reasons that African Americans are buying guns as opposed to anybody else these days?
I think there is, and it's very subtle nuance, but it is a difference. When you look at our community, for a long time, for whatever reason, and we can go into that and talk about this forever, we have been told, suggested, nudged into not buying guns in our community. So you have generations of our older folks, especially, that look at guns and say, Phil, I'm never going to get a gun, because I get these conversations every day. So what we do at NAGA, we sit down and we re-educate those folks that are considering about buying a gun or have bought a gun, and we let them know that it's okay. It's part of your Second Amendment rights. Our ancestors died for this, and you have the right to buy a gun. And we really kind of re-educate them, re-indoctrinate them on what the Second Amendment is, buying a gun, taking care of it, keeping it locked at home, all that good stuff. So we have our hands full when they come in the door. And our folks have been coming in the door in droves, thousands and thousands and millions, quite honestly, are buying guns right now. So we're trying to take that and say, okay, this is a teaching moment for everyone, especially our folks. Let's make sure that they're taught properly. We always have a certified instructor, either NRA, USCCA, on hand. So they are always given proper instruction. We have safety briefings before anyone even touches a gun. And we've never had any instances nationwide, knock on wood, based on that, because we're extremely careful. You just can't walk into our organization, to our range day, without us knowing you and grab a gun and start shooting. That's not going to happen.
Question for you then. Thinking about this, is there an opportunity, or do you foresee any kind of shift in the political landscape if we have more African Americans buying guns and getting training and having guns for self-defense from the standpoint of pushes for gun control and restrictions?
Yeah, that's a big question. We've been talking about that probably the last 6 months. Really in depth, because what's happening, and I'll be very transparent with you and your listeners. Most black folks vote Democratic. I don't think that's a big secret. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, right.
Right. So what's happening with these new gun owners that are coming in the millions, and we try to stay out of the political arena. We're not to the left or right. We have Republicans, Democrats, everyone, libertarians in our organization, all over the place. So we avoid, taking sides on anything, but we will back Second Amendment policy. But getting back to your question, what we try to do, what's going on is that when folks buy a gun and they hear someone on TV, regardless of which side that person politically is, and they're saying those bad gun people, well, that's one of you. That's one of me. That's one of, I'm not a bad gun guy.
Yeah, it's not them anymore.
I'm not going up and down the street terrorizing. I'm not running through Walmart, scaring folks. So then there's a question, and that's what I call the beauty of the organization. You're allowed to start thinking, and you can start questioning what's going on, and I think that's a good thing. It doesn't mean you're going to get swayed one way or the other, but I know I've owned a gun for the last 7 years, and prior to that, when and especially coming from California, when someone told me about guns, I kind of that's not good. But now that I have a gun for the last 7 years, and when someone says anti-gun statement, then I say, well, where do you get that from? Because I've had a chance to be educated on what firearms aren't and are, and that's what's happening to our organization. So I do think eventually, if not now already, you're starting to see a lot of our folks really think through certain perspectives from a political standpoint. And I think that's always good. You should always challenge yourself and challenge those around you when it comes to statements, particularly when it comes to the Second Amendment.
You bet. All right, so tell me about your new magazine.
Yeah, Caliber, Calibr, spelled incorrectly on purpose. It has been fantastic. We've sold over, I think, 50,000 copies already in a month and a half. It was a huge success at SHOT Show. We had lines all day long, people getting the magazine. We were just giving the magazine away at that point. but it is very positive, very refreshing, and it shows not only the gun lifestyle, but it talks about outdoor activities for the African American community. We talk about hiking, camping, hunting, because we believe even if you're not a quote unquote gun person, if you look at our magazine, you're going to find something that you like about it. We have articles on food, we have articles on travel, we have articles on clothing trends. For the ladies, we have all this good stuff that really takes you not only to firearms, but far beyond that as it applies to being outside. And that's the focus, being outside as a family, doing stuff, fishing that kids and families need to do, and we believe is the best activity that a family can do, being together outside. So that's the focus of the magazine, and it's been well received. I mean, literally every gun manufacturer that you and I can think of, I've gotten calls from the CEO, VP of marketing, global marketing director saying, Phillip, we love the magazine. We want to buy, 800 copies.
Right.
It's been great.
Fabulous.
It's been great. It's been
all
very
right, so
great.
the best place for people to get all the information to the website, naaga.co, right?
Yes, sir.
NAGA, obviously, with a little wink and a nod and a little play, having a little fun with that. National Association of African American Gun Owners. We get that. Okay, we see what's going on here. Congratulations on the success.
You're smarter than me, Tom. You're smarter than me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Thank you for what you're doing, and it is wonderful. And look, the door is always open. If you got some news and want to share or just swap stories, you're always welcome back here. Okay.
God bless you guys, and thank you for the time and having me talk to you and your listeners. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care, Phil. Appreciate that. He's president of the National African American Gun Association, NAAGA.co.